I'm Léa Altner, I'm a curator, and I started the show together with Mathieu, Abonnenc. And what started out to be a solo show actually turned out to be a group show.
My name is Mathieu, Abonnenc. I'm an artist, I'm a director, and we are in the exhibition Gods Moves in Places, which was supposed to be a solo show, but finally we decided during the discussion to invite 6 artists. And I had this idea of discussing this, what Édouard Glissant calls a tropical night, or at least what he evokes in a number of texts or interviews as a place that can create a new sense of history, a new sense of memory, and a new sense of identity. The first artist that I wanted to invite was the photographer Mathieu, who lives in French Guyana, and he just produced a new series of photographs called Metabois, which is a kind of a folklore figure in French Guyana. So carnivalesque photograph, but also producing a new kind of mythology.
You do know what you're looking at, kind of when you look at the photographs. It can be so many different things, and which is also a way of resisting this kind of classification in the French Ghanaian Carnival. I think maybe going back to this idea of the tropical night, because it's the starting point of this exhibition actually. And I think for me at least what is important about it, that it is sort of a, let's say, portal to another kind of knowledge, another kind of experience, another kind of opening into something. As we are here sitting in the installation of Metabois, artist from Guadeloupe, she set out a structure, a pattern of soil throughout the entire exhibition space that sort of guides the visitors' movements in order to experience the space. You travel through space, coming up on ponds of water and arriving at her beautiful video work that shows the landscape and the nature of her native Guadeloupe, and is also directly connected to, let's say, a neo-colonial relationship with France, because it also deals with the ecological consequence of pesticide use for the agriculture that is mostly exported to France. So I think for me the connecting point in all the works is actually this parallel of the political and the poetical.
Or how knowledge finds new ways to inhabit bodies as well. And so to just give a tour also of this exhibition, it starts with this small extract of an interview by Édouard Glissant, where he's speaking of this what is at stake for him in what he calls the tropical night. And then I'm going back to that, which is a way to counter history, to produce a counter discourse. And in the work themselves, I think it was important to find a way to articulate that in the space, and also for the visitor to make he or her feel what could be at stake. So with sounds, with lightings, with lightings in the photograph also, for example, what is perceivable, what is seeable, what is not possible to see, what is not possible to hear, or what are the figures that Mathieu is photographing. Half human, half mythological figures. They are half forest, half. So they are in between states, and that's in betweenness, I think, is powerful. It goes with this impossibility to choose between a poetical discourse or a political discourse, which is so. And in the case of Édouard Glissant, for example, it's obvious that the link is always difficult to break or to categorize.
I think that also connects quite beautifully to the other core thinker or idea that surrounds this exhibition, which is the Caribbean writer Wilson Harris, and his idea derived from Native American mythology and philosophy, actually, of like a oneness of all beings. So this is also a reason why we have so many references to inhabiting nature, which also starts with photographs by Carl Joseph.
He's born and raised in French Guiana, and he's kind of living almost there because he's a director of the Rencontre Photographique de Guyane. So he's someone who has a very extended knowledge of French Guiana. And he has photographed a kapok tree, which is in the suburbs of Cayenne. And this huge kapok tree is used as an altar for Haitian communities that live near Cayenne, as an altar for Vodun ceremony. And so Carl has photographed all the detail of this altar. So the bottles, the wax, all the remains actually of that are kind of witness of all the ceremonies. You see at the bottom that there is a river behind, or at least at the bottom of the tree, and that's the reason why the tree is so big, because he chooses the exact place to grow.
I think this special connection to nature also plays quite a vital role in the works by Marcel Pinas, who is part of the Maroon people of the Njuka, who is, with his sculptures and drawings, trying to preserve this cultural identity, and here starting with the language. How do you see this relationship with this idea of living with nature?
This specific project is more of protect knowledge which came by the escape of the slaves from the plantation. Marcel is from the Njuka community, which are the slaves who escaped from the Dutch plantation by the end of the 18th century. In Suriname, which was Dutch Guyana till 1975. The Maroon escaped the plantation, and also they fought war against the Dutch settler. The forest had to be the refuge and became the escape route as well, and became the altar, like we said. And language is protecting also all this kind of history by protecting the language.
I think that also comes quite visible in the works by Peter Conversa-Cool. So we have 3 projections of some ghostly dogs, I'd say. I think they are also the point where this exhibition again opens up through not just the Caribbean space or the Guyana Shield, but becomes more an open question. Let's put it that way.
It was also this idea of the Creole dog, because there is a kind of speaking about the way dogs in Guyana, at least in French Guyana, they go into the city, like they wander in places, and it's called a chemin chien. So it's the path of the dogs, which go from one places to another, that can enter space, and that is searching for something, but is wandering in the space actually. So I like this idea that we were following this dog, this wanderer, which is really the Creole dog, but you don't really know what he's searching for. But at least Glissant spoke about that with what he called l'errance, or the idea of the trace, that you are following traces. In the way we built the show is this idea of nature is like this kind of metamorphosis, but also in terms of alchemical metamorphosis. Suddenly a character can become like a stone, and suddenly because it can transform into an animal or an insect. And so there are this kind of equivalences between states, which comes by the process of transformation, at least this attempt to change shape.
I think that's also exactly part of the Anansi stories of Pamela Coleman Smith, who was a writer, illustrator of Jamaican and British descent, and she actually wrote and illustrated her own version of this this tale of the Anansi trickster, which traveled from Western Africa to the Caribbean by way of the slave trade.
The trickster is an important character because it's a way of escaping, the colonial domination. I thought it would be great to articulate it to all these other figures that are figures of resistance, or to shape-shifting in also having the ability to oppose, even in representation, like I say, colonial domination, colonial representation, and to have it in with the drawings of Pamela Colman-Smith, which is also very well known because she did this tarot, the most famous tarot deck right now. It was a way to connect another type of European esoterical space as well. So Glissant speaks in this small extract that we are showing speaks of magic.
But here again, we also made this connection to the European Carnival, to the Nuremberg Carnival, a selection of very beautiful images as well from drawings of the carnival figures from the 16th century in Nuremberg.
I think that's one of the Wilson-Harris legacy, actually, the discussion with Wilson-Harris' work. One of his proposals is to try to think in analogy, trying to find the connection between like what was the European, for example, Middle Age, and what it has produced when it arrived in South America, for example, and after the conquest, or during the conquest, and after the slave era, and then colonialism. And for Wilson-Harris, there is this kind of belief, or at least it's to me it's a very effective proposal, that things keep their strength and their shape, and they confront at some point, even if they produce a new type of hybrid identity. And so to me, putting this carnivalesque figure close to figures like the one produced by Mathieu, which also takes some kind of inspiration, at least in the mode of fabrication of the costume, from the French Guyanese Carnival, was to try to find a way to produce a kind of discussion, but a productive discussion between those two figures.